This is Destiny. This is Cindy. And we're with the Keep It Real podcast, and we're here today with the legend Bobby Blaze. We're so honored that you're here. Thank you so much.
Well, I don't know if I'm a legend or not, but I'm not Destiny. She's Destiny. You're Cindy. And this is the Keep It Real podcast, and that's what we're going to do today, this evening. We're going to keep it real. Let's
Yes.
have a good time, ladies.
Yes, I always tell everybody we're not experts and we make mistakes and we're goofy sometimes, but that's what makes it fun, right?
Absolutely. Hey, I've been on so many podcasts. It's always a pleasure when I get to be on a podcast, and I had my own for a while. And some of the best moments come from that, just talking, having a good time. And, if it was easy, everyone would be doing it. Oh, wait a minute. It's a podcast. Everyone is doing it.
Yeah.
Everyone has one, though. It's good to be here. I appreciate it very much. We talked a couple months about getting on here, and I've done a little promo for you before about it. And so, hey, I appreciate you having me on here. And Destiny, if that is your real name, because I know you by several other aliases. How are you, young lady?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm gravy. I'm doing all right. So anyway, thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. Before we get started with any questions, do you want to tell people about yourself? Give them a little background and about FTC and yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Well, I'm Bobby Blaze, or Bobby Blaze Smedley. I had my first professional wrestling match September the 11th, 1988. Oh, I know it's a long time ago, but I'm so fortunate because I had a dream. I had goals for myself to become a professional wrestler, and that's what I did basically my entire adult life. I've done some other jobs here and there, but my main focus in life was professional wrestling. I loved it as a young boy, and I'll let you ask those questions lead up to it. But that's who I am. I've written a couple books. I'd like to share those links, but not right this second. I'll plug them later on. But I've authored a couple books, and I'm working on a third one. And right now, I'm very fortunate enough to be able to give back to something I love a lot, and that's professional wrestling. We can get into the whole story. But once the pandemic came, everyone has their own stories. Mine was a little bit more different than everyone else's, where I had been involved in professional wrestling. But that pandemic to me, it just screwed up so many things and this and that. Not blaming or pushing anything off anyone else, but while it was going, I had been sick prior to that, and I was like, when it happened, I was like, man, if I ever get a chance to get back out there again, I'm gonna give back to something I love a lot. A lot of my social media was always about paying it forward, giving back, those type things. And so I sit here and like I'm looking at a couch, I'm looking at a chair, and I'm going, hey, there's nothing happening here. If we get unlocked or whatever you want to call it, and you get back out in society, I said I'm going to give back to something I love a lot, and that's professional wrestling. And so I knew Joe, the owner of FTC, for several years, and he had befriended me at an event I was doing an autograph signing at, and he told me, we had worked together on different schools, seminars and things I'd done in the past for him and for FTC, and he was going to get started. And of course, that's when things were starting to loosen up a little bit. And I said, well, this is good timing for you all, but give me a few more months. I will be there. I want to be a part of this thing. And I think about 3 months went by, and then I started coming over to the training facility, and been there ever since. I'll be there until whenever. But I always had my interest in helping and paying it forward. Like I said, sharing my knowledge. I always say this: first of all, I was trained locally by a gentleman, and I had about probably 10 or 12 matches way back when, but I wasn't really like smartened up to the business. It was just a bunch of beating and punching and fighting and this and that, and which that's fine for me. That's no disrespect meant by the person that trained me. They did the best they could with what they had. But I was in a match, and 1988, and I was in a ring with Buddy Landell and myself, and Jimmy Valiant, handsome boogie woogie man Jimmy Valiant, and Hector Guerrero was doing a laser tron. It was an NWA show. I'd been in a third match. I had no reason to be in a main event other than someone didn't show up. And Buddy looked at me, and I had the long blonde hair like him. And he said, "Put that boy there with me." And I was like, "Oh God, what do I do?" And he said, "Just follow me." And I got in the ring, got up on the apron, and I saw the first time they locked up, and I started watching. And I've been a fan my whole life, and I said I wanted to do it since I was 15. And I know Destiny, you got your whole life ahead of you. You better be doing this if that's what you're going to do. But anyway, point being, I said, "Oh, geez, these guys, they know what the heck's going on, you know." And so from there, I just started sending out a bunch of promotional pictures I had from the gym and things like that. And I'd try. I went up to the Monster Factory, had a tryout. It was no big deal. I was just basically got in the ring. So I was first time I really got in the ring and done something, hit the ropes, took my first bump and all that. But it was a bit too far. And then I ended up going 1,500 miles. That was in New Jersey. I ended up going 1,500 miles from my home a different direction. That was down south in Tampa, Florida, where I met the great Professor Boris Malenko, his sons Joe and Dean Malenko. Dean was traveling quite a bit back then for Japan and other countries. And Professor Boris Malenko took me under his wing. And for 4 months, well, first of all, I went there for 4 months just whenever I could, commuting back and forth from Orlando. Then a room opened up at the actual camp with someone that was helping. And I went 4 days a week, every time the doors were open from the beginning to the end of each session. And he took Boris Malenko, Larry, he took me under his wing. And I had the pleasure of being around a couple of guys that were real athletes like myself at the time. Well, I still consider myself an athlete. I'm just older now. But nonetheless, what I'm getting at is I didn't miss. For 4 months, 4 days a week, I went to training and got that professional toolage I needed and so desired. And the rest of, like they say, is history. There's a lot of ups and downs, but that's the gist of it. So anyway, I'm not trying to hog the whole conversation. Ask away, talk to me, whatever you are. Just let me know.
We like to listen. We like to learn.
Yeah. The biggest thing I could take away that I personally, if someone wanted my help to become a professional wrestler, I would do more conditioning at the school or at the camp at the Art of Grappling School. You know, we have a really good facility. We went. I used to seminars in that training ring at our FTC facility. I used to rent that back in the day in the summer around my birthday and do 3 or 4 day seminars, and I'd do that throughout the summer and have young people come down and get out in the ring and I didn't want to see anyone getting hurt. I'd been hurt before, and I was training people like that, just 3 or 4 days at a time, like just come by and worked it out. And that again, Joe came right around that same time, and I said, matter of fact, I'm having a seminar this weekend, 3 days, and he showed up, and that the rest of that's history as far as that goes. But that same ring is when I rented it. He ended up buying for our training facility, and we've went from one building to a bigger building now, and we've had it to where 2 rings are in there. As you know, we're going to try to get our second ring back up, the one we do our shows in. And then also there's MMA in there, and there's a gym basically in there. We just moved right along. But I would go back to what I was going to say is conditioning. I had a young lady come up to me the other day, and she said, I was told to tell you this, conditioning is your best hold. She's a young lady training at another school, and I know her boyfriend, fiance. And she said, yeah, he told me to tell you that. Well, that's the one I personally have dealt with. I would like to see what I did is I did a ton of exercises and worked before I even got in the ring because I had to start at square one. And that's what Malenko had asked me to do. He said, Bobby, if I'm going to train you, I want you to forget what you learned up there about wrestling. Because up in Kentucky and Tennessee, he said, I hear him till today, and this is almost verbatim, God bless those guys up there. All they want to do is punch, is kick, and poke you in the eyes, and this and that. He goes, I'm going to teach you how to wrestle. And I learned how to wrestle and become a student of the game, and conditioning was a huge part of that. And so that's the biggest thing. They say if wishes with horses, beggars would ride. Well, I'm not looking for any beggars. I'm looking for any horses. I'm not going for to ride. I'm just saying, I want to help people do their conditioning, especially at a young age. And that way, when they get into matches, I don't think we had one match the other night on that show that anyone really um, did real bad as far as their conditioning, but we always could improve, you know. And I say that knowing you all, not about the audience out there. We had a show, FTC had a show the other night that you ladies were at, and it was a very good show. And we have more upcoming dates, you know, the rest of this year. And if you want to, you know, ask away. I feel like I'm just doing all the talking here. Come on.
And that was a really good show. I don't think
Yeah.
I have never been to an FTC show that wasn't top notch.
Oh,
You
thank
know,
you. Yeah.
everybody
Um,
always gives their all, and it's not a careless free
the
for all.
Thank you. The crew on the last 3 fair days that we've had fair days throughout the summer, but the last 3, and again, I don't know who we're reaching out there in the world. So just realize I'm in Kentucky, they're in West Virginia, our school's in Ohio. The way that works is we're right here. We're the heart, man. You know, the whole thing. We're like within 2 minutes, I can be in Ohio. Within 5 minutes, I can be in West Virginia, depending which direction I go. So where we're at in this tri-state area, in the southern Ohio, eastern Kentucky, and southwestern, I guess, West Virginia there. Is that right? Anyway, we're in that area. And we've got a lot of fair dates. And we were at the last 3 county fairs. Boyd County, after everyone stepped up, Catlettsburg, everyone stepped up. And again, these are small towns, folks, if you're out there listening. But the community we went to Saturday was a harvest fest that the Harvest Festival have every year about this time of year. Way up in Martin County, Kentucky, and it's one of the poorest. And I don't mean this as a dig. It's one of the poorest counties out of 120 counties in the state of Kentucky. And those people are so appreciative. And I emphasize this during the training. We are bringing them. We brought them professional wrestling. You know, a lot of coal miners up there, and a lot of poverty up there. So it's the haves, have-nots, and this and that. But we didn't see it in our fans. That's the thing about professional wrestling. We transcend everything. You know, I talk about a show I did at a prison. The inmates, they segregated themselves. We transcend that. You know, professional wrestling, it doesn't matter if you're black, white, Hispanic. We did that. The show the other night, it didn't matter if people come out of those mountains rich with coal or if they're, poverty level. The people that came, they're professional wrestling fans. And some of those people, yeah, sure, they may go to Pikeville. That's a close place to have at the Expo Center, maybe Huntington Civic Center in West Virginia, or maybe Rupp Arena in Kentucky. You know, they may have been to a big show where they see the TV stars of AEW or WWE or whoever comes to that region. But see, we went in there and took a professional wrestling show to the fans for that community. And the outpour, we doubled our crowd of last year. And the match quality, again, everyone stuck together, did their own game plan. One of the things I try to teach, and again, this is one of the things that's so hard to try to get through to some people. When they get it, a light goes off in their head is don't work a match for your ego. Work for the match. It's not about me. Wrestling's bigger than me. It's before me and it's going to be after me. So when that person's in a ring, the ego's gone. Work for that match. And if both people do that, first match, second match, semi-main to the main event, if everyone does their job, each match keeps progressively getting better or bigger. And then also the whole card grows up, develops into that big boom at the end. And that's what you're working for. And I think everyone there honestly had a tremendous time enjoying in their county, you know, and actually we have to be in the downtown area. I've worked that area before many years for Smoky Mountain Wrestling doing TV. And that's the other thing. And this is what you need to know as you're training. It's something I try to tell people too is, and I was on the TV, you know, Channel 57 out of Hazard, Kentucky, Louisville market, all over the whole Smoky Mountain was we had a pretty good TV market, you know, from the Carolinas through Georgia up through Virginia and West Virginia, et cetera. I'm trying to think. But anyway, Kentucky, obviously, Tennessee. But anyway, point being, I was at a show one day. I think I was in Johnson City, Tennessee, and putting up my pictures and doing this and, you know, signing autographs. And one of the rest of that with Rock and Roll Express. You guys know these guys. The great late Tracy Smothers. I miss him a lot. I was telling my brother just the other day, him and Chris Candido are two of the guys that's passed on I really think about sometimes. that I missed. But it was Tony Anthony, dirty white boy. He had turned babyface, and he talked to me. He said, Bobby, he said, you, and people were up for your signing autographs, this and that. Like we're in Johnson City, and we used to draw a really good crowd there, Tennessee. And he said, you are the closest thing, meaning professional wrestlers, while we're there in that town, you are the closest thing that these people will ever see to a TV star or a movie star when they meet you. Because we're on their homes every Saturday or Sunday. We have several channels that, was Saturday at 10 o'clock or Sunday at noon, whenever our TV program come on. And if you've got that kind of exposure, you're like, you don't realize. Give you an example. So when you're doing this training, think about that, Destiny. When you get on a show and you 10 years down the line, maybe you're going to say, Bobby Blaze told me that. It's because I know. And I'll tell you what people say. I'm going to say this, and if you want to beat me, that's fine. Bleep me. I always say this. It's not because I know. It's not because I know what I'm talking about. It's because I fucking know exactly what I'm talking about. So you can beep that word out. Sorry. But anyway, because I know, okay, it's not because it's my way. I'm teaching the right way. And to me, so when people see you, they see you sitting there, whether I was announcing or whether other wrestlers were out there in the ring working, those people are there, and you're the closest they've seen to a movie star or a TV star. And they're like, oh man, I get to see these people and meet them up close in person and see them perform. It's an incredible feeling to have, and to have that impact on them, the fans, because we still have fans out there, and I still believe in this business. I love this business, and I try to give everything I can back to this business, just because I love it. I love the positivity. There's negative stuff that happens and rumors and this BS and that. Here's me. I don't care. I'm not going to be just political. I don't care who went here, who done this, that. I want to see everyone do good, because I'm a teacher and instructor. And coach. I'm trying to show you, look, get through the petty stuff. See the bigger picture. This is a great business. Robert Gibson told me one time, a long time ago, Bobby, he said, when this business is bad, it's good. And when it's good, it's great. And when it's great, it's terrific. That's the way. So I'm trying to make it to get back to being terrific again. And several years ago, again, I'm not trying to ramble on, just telling you, Jim Cornette and Bobby Eaton, I used to joke around. Us three were the last three people that thought professional wrestling was still real. That's just because we love the sport so much, So one day I was listening to Cornette, and of course, he referenced me before. He referenced his good friend Bobby Eaton. Bless his heart. He's someone I miss as well. I love Bobby. Tell me someone, if I ever hear someone say a bad word about Bobby Eaton, and I'll personally break off my size 13 foot right up your butt, because you won't find it. Bobby Eaton was so loved and so talented. But anyway, Jimmy was saying something about professional wrestling, and I felt this way that got that way too. Professional wrestling was on its deathbed. It really was. It was just, wow, it was going down. It was going down. It was going down. Independent wasn't happening. TV wasn't happening unless you was a big WWE. That was about the only game in town, really. And then slowly, and I saw it happening. I really did. And especially after the pandemic ended, I started seeing it. By God, professional wrestling got up off its deathbed, kicked open the door, started walking down the hall, if you can just picture that, and pro wrestling is coming back. That's what I see it. It's been happening. There's so many more independent shows now, and there's so much more TV selection. And I don't care what you watch. I don't care if you watch Impact. I don't care if you watch AEW, WWE. I don't care if you watch a luchador from Mexico or you stream it from Japan. If you're a professional wrestling fan, that's what I care about. Hey, the product's out there. I very seldom watch a lot of the modern day product, but I still love it. And I do watch it. Don't get me wrong. I'll say, someone say, do you see that match? More likely I probably haven't. But if I know someone involved, I'll go back and look at it. So, yeah, I did. Mania is my big thing every year. I watch other stuff too from other Japan, and some Prism will send me stuff, and I'm amazed because they're so athletic And some of the things that happened this year at Mania, Destiny, is right before you started coming to the school. Uh, there were 3 matches, and some of the opening spots and the finishes were the exact same thing I'm teaching in the middle of that ring each week. It's because someone done a headlock, switch hammer lock, and they rolled them up for a schoolboy 1, 2, 3, and that was a finish. But they done all the other stuff, theatrical in between. But it all started with wrestling and finished with wrestling, and it set up. It's just that's just the way to me. Even though the E has been up to the big place up there, I always think this, and it's an old saying: the marquee still says wrestling. What we do is professional wrestling. Now, I had a podcast. We had a lot of subscribers, and I was telling Cindy some things was sadly happened to affect our podcast. No direct fault of myself or Jeremy, the gentleman who helped me run it. We grinded it till the wheel rolled off, and that's this. I always say this. So I love pro wrestling, but when I say sports entertainment, I have to spit. As a rule, I had on my podcast. If you say sports entertainment, you have to spit. So anyway, it is what it is, though, and I know what it is, and we all do. But I always say this, and it's true. Malenko, you say it, and I said it just at that Katzenberg show. I had to tear into someone's butt at the show, one of our students, and that's this. If you give your business away, you have nothing left to sell. And yeah, sure, I'm on this podcast talking about it, but also someone has purchased that as part of their plan for their city or for their county as the entertainment part. Yeah, I said it without the other word first. See, they wanted professional wrestling to be part of their entertainment. See how you word it? It's a mind game, I know. But my point is, people still believe in it. They still want to see it, and they'll still pay to see it if you deliver the right product. If you are professional in what you do and give all you've got, you know what I'm saying? Does that make sense to you?
Yeah.
People still want to see it. So I used to always say this. I still do, but I mean it for other people now. Is like I know this girl. She's trying to be the neon enigma or something. I don't know. Just say she's out there somewhere. Okay, let's just say this girl's out there somewhere. Well, what people don't want to see when they go to a professional wrestling event, they don't want to see themselves. Okay, they don't want to see. This is no dig of any of these jobs or careers, but they don't want to see the prison guard. They don't want to see the teacher. They don't want to see, the guy next door, the cab driver. They want to see someone bigger than life. They want to have someone to believe in, They want to see the girl that's built really good, or the guy that's built real good, or the guy that's a big giant, or the girl that's, supermodel, or the girl that's can beat up everyone, or whatever it is. Because for 2 hours or maybe 3, but usually about 2 hours, and I think that's about right, whether it's TV or a show, house show or a fair show, is they want to suspend their belief for that time. So when they buy that ticket for 2 hours, they're not worried about bills. They're not worried about someone that might be in a hospital. They're not worried about bad things in their life. Excuse me. They are there and they can escape the realities that we live in. And for that 2 hours, it's just no different. To me, it's better, but it's no different than going to a high school football game for those 2 hours, or going to the Cineplex and seeing a great movie for 2 or 3 hours. When you go to professional wrestling, you buy a ticket, you know what you bought it for. Because I'll tell you why you bought it, because I would not assault any wrestling fan's intelligence, and I'll tell you this, and it's the truth. Everyone that buys a ticket, they know what they bought a ticket for. You know why they bought a ticket? Because someone will tell you they bought a ticket because they know it's, they use that F word. I won't use it. And it's not, because the next person say, it's not. And they'll start arguing. And one of them saying it's real, one of them saying the F word. And they're back and forth. And then someone else say, I know what I'm buying it for. I'm buying it for entertainment. They know I'm buying it because I know this girl that's going to be on a card tonight. Oh, I know this because my buddy is wrestling the main event. They know why. Same thing when you go to a high school football game or basketball, you know someone's on a team. Maybe your son or daughter's on a team. You go to a movie, maybe your favorite actor or actress in it, or the favorite director. So people know. So I never say, I'm going to salt your intelligence and say yes, but I'll tell you this. Yes, it's real. Everything you see actually happens. The only thing in our business is the outcome is predetermined. That's the finish. And the finish is done so you will be entertained, love the sport of professional wrestling, and hopefully buy a ticket to the next time the event comes back to your area. So that's why. I mean, if you want to see real fighting, go watch. Go down to the bar one Friday night. You'll see. It's crazy. I don't want to see that. I hate hearing about it. Go watch MMA if that's what you want to watch for your entertainment. You know what I'm saying? They've got a great product there, but UFC, MMA, whatever. But when you're going to professional wrestling, you're going to go. It's just for 2 hours or however long it is. You're suspending your belief. And Destiny, I don't know if you know this or not. I hate to tell you this. There's no Santa Claus. There's no Easter Bunny. Okay, but they're still professional wrestling. Okay, now don't get upset about that because I do believe Christmas. There's still Christmas and Easter. I get it. I'm not trying to throw this on you here, but see, you're suspending when you're young. You suspend your belief about Santa Claus, and some people I see all this hatefulness now about. Well, you lie to your kids. Well, it's a gimmick, man. Sure we spend money, whatever. But I'm just saying, you as an adult, you want that element, those little kids seeing, oh man, someone, who the hell's gonna come down your damn chip? Well, we ain't got a goddamn chip. You know what I'm saying? How do you do all this? How you do it? You finally smarten up, But the thing is, and I just talk when I get excited. So, but point is, it's the same thing. Sometimes you just don't want to know. I was telling someone the other day that rode to the show with me, and they've recently become a big fan of professional wrestling. And I love when I see a new person become a fan. And I saw a girl at that show the other night. I was watching. I saw this girl. She's watching. It was when the big Obsidian guys were out there and stuff with Bubbles and Misery. And I saw this girl, and I watched her. Because I was watching this whole crowd where I was at. Cindy, you were there seeing where I'm at, that side. And I saw this girls fall in love with professional wrestling. You know what I'm saying? You can see people. I saw it before about Boyd County Fair. The one lady that takes our photos is like, I just watched her at night. She was like, you can watch people and see them like, oh my God. And they just start falling in love with it. And that happened again the other night. There was a handful of girls, all teenagers probably. And they're sitting there and they just watch it. Next thing you know, they start yelling. And they start like, they just watched. And you can see it like, I guarantee it, they'll go home and try. They probably went to school today, talk about, you know what I did Saturday night? I saw professional. I saw these girls. I saw this guy. I saw this. And I saw them fall in love with it. And that's a beautiful thing, when someone falls in love with our business. You've had it happen to you.
Yes.
You've been around this business a long time as a fan, and I know that because you and I were, when we rekindled our friendship at a wrestling show here, first Friday at the beginning of the summer, maybe something like that, Yeah. There's your daughter in here working at it now. It's when I say it, it could be a guy too. It just so happened there was a group of teenagers that right in front of where you all were at. And like, I just saw them, they all just was like standing there, and it went from clapping and booing to like, maybe my glass is too bad a reflection. They went to like, oh God, this is great. They just, it was like they just fell in love. I could see it. And that loosely used term there, but it's like they started watching. They wasn't booing and cheering. They were like, oh, they watched it. Of course, they cheered when the finish happened or the match was over and everyone was happy, went home. But it's like you can see. And I've been around this business enough, and anything you do in life, if you see something over and over and over, you're like, oh yeah. I've seen people, myself included, I walk by TV and go, when I was young, go, oh God. And I'm watching. The next thing you know, the next Saturday you're clicking. I apologize. I wasn't next Saturday clicking. Next Saturday, my brother and I was up turning the knob trying to find one of three or four channels we could get, So, but we found that wrestling, Once we found it again, like, 'cause he hadn't found it. I had seen it. There's a couple years between us, and we had moved from Maryland, Baltimore to Kentucky, and I'd seen pro wrestling up there on TV. And when we got here, a couple years had passed, and he come running out. You got to see this. You got to see this. Well, by the time we went back in, it was over because it was the end of the program. And I was like, right as the end of it, they was doing this stuff, and I was like, man, that's professional wrestling. So the next Saturday around that time, we started clicking the channel. And we found it, and I said, Jim, I said, that's professional wrestling, man. And we got hooked again right there as brothers, like this. We watched the old Memphis tapes, what we were watching, Memphis TV. And, it had at the time, Jerry Lawler and superstar Billy Dundee. And man, Dundee done a sunset flip. That's all my brother was waiting to see because he kept explaining to me all week. Man, this guy, he done his thing. He went over top this guy. And he jumped over him and he done it. And he pinned him. And I hadn't watched it for a couple of years. And I didn't know what the move was either, because I'm this young boy. And I'm sitting there, and when he does it, it's a sunset flip. When Dundee did it the next week, or maybe 2 weeks later, whenever his match was on there, we both like come unglued. Like, my brother said, that was it, but he done a flip, and it was a sunset flip, And of course, the announcers putting it over. We fell in love with it, like pro wrestling again. So, anyway, keep going or ask me another question. I'm gonna have me a drink of
Go right ahead.
Salt beverage here.
That was me when I was a kid. When I first started watching it, the first match I ever saw that hooked me was Tommy Rich.
Why not?
When Tommy came out there, I was like my world had changed.
and I'm gonna tell you this because I don't know your age and I don't want to know, but I know so many girls that are my age or about 10 or 15 years back below my age that I know personally or I've met professionally in another job or something, and they'll say exactly what you said. They'll say, man, when I was 12 years old, you're Tommy Rich. And they'll say, Bobby, when I went to school, I was 15 and I was watching Tommy Rich. And to this day, I'm a friend with Tommy, and I love Tommy Rich. I love him to death. We used to travel some together. We still see each other on these meet and greets. And he's one of the funniest guys. He was so over. We on our podcast, we did a poll, and he was the number one. We did regional baby faces, regional heels, regional tag teams. We did all these different things. Guys that went on to be bigger. Tommy Rich was our number one baby face. And he was over. So I understand exactly what you're saying because so many people have told me that, especially females, Tommy Rich. Yeah, absolutely, man.
Yeah, well,
we were in Madison, not Madison. I've been in Madison with them, but we were in Williamson, West Virginia. Tommy and I were with the Rock and Roll Express, not this past summer, but last summer on a show. And Rock and Roll was at Huntington. They were running a little bit late. And Tommy and I were in the building together at the meet and greet, and there was ladies that were coming up, and I know how old Tommy is. I know I am, and I know the age group there. So ladies were coming in with their husbands now, of course, and grown children, and they started, Tommy, they come right up to them in front of their husband, and they say, "You were supposed to marry me, but I was only 9 years old," Lady would say, hey, tell her husband, this my first love is right here. I was 15. He was supposed to marry me. It's so funny to see that because I remember when he first hit, I saw him in Tennessee, and then when that TVS came, Superstation, like, my God, that guy was over. He's still over today. It's just one of those things that that's good, Cindy. That's really good. Destiny, when did you fall in love with professional wrestling?
The first match that I can remember, The Undertaker was fighting, but I don't remember who he was fighting. I just remember seeing him and being like, well, that's awesome.
Was that live or on TV?
It was on TV.
Yeah, cool. All right. What do you watch today? You watch WWE mostly, or?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
can name them all.
I know.
Every time it's on, we're watching it, no matter what it
Oh,
is.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of hours out there of pro wrestling on TV. So, who's your favorite now? Don't say me. Yeah, you know what she's doing, Cindy?
Uh-huh.
She's laughing and giggling, isn't she?
Uh-huh.
Do I need to go there?
Yeah.
My favorite right now is Rhea Ripley.
I'm sorry.
My favorite right now is Rhea
Oh,
Ripley.
yeah, I could see that. I saw that match with. Well, first of all, I thought she was a big star before she even had the WrestleMania match because you just see it as someone they put that much time and effort to their body and to their character, the way they speak, the way they look, the way they wrestle. And when I saw that match with her and Charlotte, man, I was just like that. That was probably my whole weekend. That's probably the best match of the weekend for me. And I'm, if you don't know it, I'm all for seeing ladies professional wrestling because I'll throw out a name. Shane Storm is a good friend of mine, and him and I several years ago we were like, man, if we was doing this little show here and there, and we was just trying to, just always, like I said, always loved the business, and we was on a couple. We used to go to some shows, and we worked on the same show in the background there, kind of what I do in the back, just kind of hang out and help. And like, man, if we just had a girl, if we just had a couple girls, because we had a good show, like FTC has a good show right now, a lot of talented people work there, a lot of students working their butt off, literally and figuratively, seeing them lose weight and getting in shape and getting better ring stuff and better ring gear and better promos. And anyway, a couple girls come, then they stop. Then it's one girl said, I want them, and they would never show up, whatever. Now, we've got, as you know, at FTC, we have several girls that's come through. Several, you include yourself, we're still there, Destiny. And I see, I've been around so many females lately as far as in the business that I personally have a connection with because I know through someone or I trained them or I see how good they're doing. And I'm so happy to see that because I think right now, a girl in professional wrestling can write their own ticket, I really do. If they do what I was saying, that like Rhea, you put in the effort. She put in a ton of work before she even got to this country, and she worked on her body and her look and her character and all those things. All that hard work paid off. Cream of the crop, so to say, rose to the top.
Mm-hmm.
And like Buddy Landell, myself telling me this, and I'd heard this before. There's a lot of ingredients to make a cake. Okay, now you put your eggs, your milk, your flour, your sugar, all these different ingredients. Okay, and I'm no cake maker, but in professional wrestling, you have all these ingredients that make a complete professional wrestler. So where I'm going with that story is this: we'll just say there's 3 ingredients for this particular cake we're going to make. This beautiful cake. I'm a pie guy myself. Okay, I love pie. If you're watching this, bring me a pie. I love pie. Key lime, pecan, chocolate. I just love pie. But anyway, I watch my weight, my blood pressure, and all that. But I break the rules sometimes when it comes to pie. But anyway, I digress. Let's just say it takes milk, an egg, and a flour. Okay, or you put the sugar, the egg, and the milk. Any 3 ingredients. The same thing applies to professional wrestling. It could be a lot of ingredients, but here's your main 3. First of all, know how to work, know how to wrestle. Okay, that's a good ingredient to have. Number 2, if you have the body, have a nice body. Okay, put the work in the gym or in your calisthenics or whatever program you're doing. If you have a good body and can work, that's 2 out of 3 main ingredients right there to make this perfect concoction of a professional wrestler. The last being, and again, it's endless, but we're going to go up just these 3, is this right here: being able to talk, being able to speak, be able to communicate, get those people in, talk them into the building. Come this Saturday night at Martin County or at the alumni gym or the Armory or Cow Palace or Madison Square Garden, wherever you're at. Be able to get them people to believe in you're going to do this Saturday. You're going to whip, someone's butt or come and watch me. I'm gonna give my best fight for this championship. So if you notice all these people that I've just mentioned, you already put someone in your head, but they have those three ingredients. So I'm just gonna give you a couple. I haven't mentioned names. I'm just saying, think about those ingredients. Go back to like a Ric Flair. Now I'm talking about younger, but here's the thing: great body, tremendous worker,
Yes.
and great talker. Let's go to Hulk Hogan. Big, great body, being able to talk. And yeah, he could wrestle one tape, work. So go to modern day, look at Roman Reigns. Look at that guy. Killer body, can speak, but I'll get to this in a second. Also has a manager and can actually, do a lot of things in the ring. Very impressive. So that, again, you could put whoever you think's out there, look at those three things, and I guarantee that's why you like them, or that's why they're getting a push to the top. Rhea's a prime example. She can speak, she can wrestle, and she looks good doing it, and she busted her butt to have that certain type of physique. Now, if that don't happen, let's go to second tier. Let's say they got great bodies and they have one of the other two. If they can still talk, but not be able to wrestle, but they can get the gimmick over. It could be just that. Or the other, they can not speak very well, but have a great body and they can wrestle good. Guess what? Give them a mouthpiece if they can't talk. Look at Bobby Eaton. The guy said 2 words his whole career. Thank you, but he had Jim Cornette. He don't have to speak. Jim Cornette's going to speak for him. Same thing with Dennis and Stan. Now, they could speak, sure, but they didn't have to, but had a great body. Look at the Road Warriors. Big, monstrous guys, great bodies that learned how to work. But they eventually learned how to talk too, but there for a while, they didn't have to talk. They had Precious Paul Ellering. So you give them a mouthpiece. Look at all the people that Jimmy Hart's managed. And he had all these guys that had, either great bodies or great wrestlers or great gimmicks. But then, so you put them ingredients together is what I'm getting at. Yeah. And you have to have those, and a little bit of luck sometimes, helps things go a long way for you. Knowing the right people, being in the right place, doing what's asked of you, you get to the building, and that show the other night, we had a couple cancellations, people running late and this and that. Sometimes you got to do things off the fly. And I like that or on the fly, I should say, I guess. Zip, 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 because we got to change this. Let's do this and this. And when you're done at the end of the night, this happened, Cindy, this happened between you and myself in Catonsburg. I got there, I'm trying to speak to everyone, give you a hug, blah, blah, blah. And I love a hug. I'm a hug person. Hey, bring it in, But the time I got there, we're doing this, doing that. 7 o'clock, boom, we're clicking. There's the matches. 9 o'clock is 8:56. Boom, the babyface are getting her hand raised. 1, 2, 3. Rock and Roll Express and Brock goes over. All the fans are happy. It's getting towards dark. But see, for that 2 hours, if I hadn't done all that stuff at the beginning and helping it work along, because everyone's cooperating too, that helps too. It's so much easier when no one's back there bitching or moaning, complaining. Like, okay, girls, here's your finish. Let's do this. Here's the main event. I ain't got to worry about Ricky Morton's there. He'll take care of that. That's one less headache I got to worry about. Listen to Ricky. And I got this, whatever's happening. So the bottom line is, when that 2 hours from 7 until 9, everyone that's at that fair, like I said, when I said you and I, because we're passing, like, where's my hug? You know what I'm saying? You want to get that hug, but you're also like, geez, there's a lot of stuff that goes on, especially when you get to the next level of doing a big house show. It's more stressful because you got a lot more to take care of and so much more responsibility. And then you do TVs. When you do TVs, I remember Dean Malenko telling me one time, Bobby, TVs is so hard to do. And I thought, and I probably said, I'm sitting there talking to him, just, we're close to the same age. And like to myself, I said, well, how hard is it? I said, hell, you go up there and you wrestle and, you the win or lose. And, but I found out differently. I'd done TVs, started doing some down in Suncoast Pro Wrestling, down in Sarasota, Florida, and Tampa, and down that way. And like, when you get there, it's so much more different because you got people, even though back then we have a lot of writers, we at least had an outline of the show. We're starting at 7 o'clock. This segment or this match is lasting 10 minutes. Well, when you go to TVs, they say you got a 10-minute match. By the time you get out there, maybe I went over on my interview time. That match had been cut to 6. Mm-hmm. I've been on matches. I was on a Smoky Mountain match, dark match, and that means before they go live on the air. So I was in a dark match with Killer Kyle and Mark Curtis, bless his heart, the referee. While we were in the match, each corner post had the big lights with 4 or 6 big bulbs on each one in every corner. So, excuse me, while we were doing our match, a big pop went off, and a fan had knocked over one of those big bulbs. Had like 4 big bulbs on it. One of the poles had 4 bulbs on it. Well, now we're in the ring. He's got me in a rear chin lock or whatever, working, and they're just now testing the lights because we're just now going to go live in like another. Our match is supposed to be 9 minutes. Well, that got bumped up to 12 minutes, and we see people out there, and we're working. The referee's like, guys, just keep wrestling, and so Kyle and I just keep going and going because they're trying to fix these TV lights so they can go live. So I've been on the opposite end. By the end of the night, like 26 minutes later, the referee like, all right, guys, go home, So I do my finish out of nowhere because that was the finish. And, and I thankfully had a good opponent, and that was Mark Kyle. But so I've seen it like that, have to go over your time to make up time. The other day on that show, one match, and I won't mention who, but someone went under, and it wasn't one of our crew, it's someone that we brought in. They went under about 4 minutes. I said, here's the time. Here's an idea of the time we want you to get it in. They just whatever. So we made up for it. We somewhere in there, I told another match, you got extra time, or I just said kindly, hey, get this. I told you 10 to 15. Get as close to 15 as you can instead of going. So we made up our time on another match. And that match ended up being a very, very solid match. The card ended up being very solid. And no one knew, except for me and a couple other people, that one match, if it just went a little bit more, it would have been even, and it was a good match. It could have been even better. And again, that wasn't even one from our crew. It's someone that they had brought in and booked in. And I know that person. I know who they wrestle for. And I'm like, well, kind of expect that, That's not big. It's just the fact that when you get professionally trained, it means something,
Yeah.
That's all I'll say about that because it's just one of those things. What I was getting at is I can imagine now you're doing your TV. Think about when you get to that next level and you're there at a WrestleMania like Rhea, how much of that she put in. How many house shows did she do working up to Mania? You see what I'm saying? We went to a show in January, the Road to Mania, and we saw that house show, and you said, you go, when you really want to see good wrestling, go watch a house show when they give everyone 10 or 12, 15 minutes to actually wrestle or work. You do it injustice, and I see this all the time in training, and I've seen it for years. It's not just this recent group of people I have. Is I see a match on TV, and you and I are watching it, Destiny, and I say, here, watch this. And you watch it, and this is what you see. You see an opening, and then you see the music, whatever. Someone's in a ring, or the music hits. Then you're going to see everything I can do good, everything my opponent can do good, condensed down. And you actually probably have about 3 minutes of live action. The rest of those are interest music. Someone wins and loses, and the exit. And that's your program segment for that. So that might be 7 or 8, 10-minute time, but the actual match was about 3 minutes. So when you come to me and say, well, I want to do a Hurricanrana, I don't want to do this thing off top rope, and I want to do a power slam, I'm like, well, goddamn, what don't you want to do? Because everyone wants to do that because that's all you see on TV. You see what I'm saying? They all see high spots. But when you go to a show or a house show, or you learn like you're learning, you'll realize now instead of being right there at gorilla position to go out live on TV, knowing, oh, we've got 8 minutes, and if someone come to you and say, guys, your match is 6. I went from that to getting in a ring, and a guy, soon we lock up, takes someone to the corner, and they go, you got 3 minutes. And you just condense it down. So I'm like, oh shit, here I go. So I beat them up for a second, say, come back, boom, boom, give them a comeback. Here's a finish, 1, 2, 3, and that's that. Because that's our segment. And so TV's all hard, but what I was getting at is so all you see are the best things I can do, but you go to the house show, you see me do something, boom, I hit the power slam. Then the person starts working back up, and you actually see, oh, we done this. So the Hurricanrana and the power slam and the top rope thing, it didn't happen. Boom, 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 boom. There was a buildup. It started here. They had time to work it. Cheer for that baby face. Always getting beat. Nope, he come back. Here comes Tommy Rich. He's coming back. You know what I'm saying? And then boom, he gets cut off. and then the next thing happens, and the next thing. So when those things happen on a house show, you get to actually see how talented these people are, and they're working for that mania. So by the time they get there, they've done that match probably 10, 15, maybe 20 times somewhere else on the road. So when they get there that night, and there's millions of people, 100,000 watching live and millions worldwide, you see that. Think about that when I'm talking about those little stresses, everything has to be perfect. So no one has time for a hug sometimes, you know what I'm saying? We're here, we got to go. And then after, I'll see you afterwards, let's shake hands. There's that hug, there's that cold beer or cold water or meal with all your friends after or whatever it is, oh, that's the payoff. Because every one of them people, they've done one of a couple things. They went home, hopefully happy as heck, or if they are pissed off, they're pissed off the right person because their favorite person got screwed over, or, and more importantly, because it's a combination of both, they're going, I can't wait to watch it again. I can't wait to see what happens on Raw Monday after Mania. Just putting that out there. It could be you put any shows you want into it, but you know what I'm saying. You're like, then also you're going like, man, I know they come to our area in January. I can't wait till they come back. Just like that county the other night, the people to help do that, the board or commissions or whoever, people that you're put those local things on your area. You're hoping they say, man, that was a good show. That was a good part. You have these county fairs or these city things that go on, festivals throughout the summer, and you bring in a gospel act, you bring in a country act, you bring in the rock act, you bring in professional wrestling, and people gyrate to it, and they're like, God, did you see that crowd down there? And they really loved it. Let's bring him back next year. That's the whole thing, is you get it again next year. It's what you want because it's good for business, and it's good to get our talent out there. It's good exposure, and it's good to the experience factor that you can work in front of a couple of hundred people to the next show. When they have a big show, that should be about 400 people. Next time we're at the Rone, we'll be in, September 30th. Let me just put this out. September 30th at Alumni Gym in Asheville, Kentucky is going to be good. And I shot a couple promos today for that. And because it's going to be Joe Pace and Jock Sampson in a steel cage match with Jock's career on the line versus the ownership of FTC. Now, based off of that, October 21st, there's going to be a big show at the Rone Theater, and that's what we work towards every year. You work towards, just like your Mania, the same thing. Everyone in our situation, we have something we try to work for, and that keeps everyone active and hungry and wanting to get better. Because if I were your all's age, Destiny or some of the other students, I'd be wanting to get on that show. And I've talked to two of the guys today, I won't mention their names, that's going to be wrestling. And one of them asked me this, the other one asked me that. And I said, this is what I would do. If this was my match and I had a chance to be on that show, I would try to have the best match I could. I wouldn't worry about anything else. I'd try to have the best match I can have, and I know like the steel cage is the main event, but guess what? If I'm on the undercard, I still want my match to be something that people are talking about and seeing, because they still paid money to see that match. If I'm the girls, I'm going to tell them the same thing Cornette told me and Candido. I don't care if you go out there and steal a show. Go out there and do it. Give us your best match. And if they can't follow you, that's on them. They're in the next position because they're supposedly better than you. Make them prove it, And guess what? If they go out there and do their job, they will. And guess what that does as a fan? My God, that was a good first match. Oh, man, did you see them girls in the third match? What about that semi-main? And then a main, like, oh, wow. Woo, when's the next show? Where y'all at next? Where do I get my tickets? Those type things. Anyway, come on.
Well, that's me. I always say the only bad thing about a wrestling show is the end of it. It's when it's over.
Yeah, well. Yes, do you have a favorite move or anything? What are you learning? What do you like? What do you dislike? Enlighten us here. Come on.
I think I'm trying.
You gotta talk, little girl.
I know.
Keep it real. That's the name of your podcast, right? So just be real. You know, what do you like? You like being in the ring for the first time? All right,
Yeah.
go ahead. All right, so I'll tell you this, like mom. So Cindy, I told her this the other day, and I've told a couple people this, and a couple of people now are like 3 years older and 3 years into the business, and a couple of them come pretty far and doing really good, and I'm happy for that. But and I told her briefly the other day, I think it was Thursday, is you're only a couple years removed from a high school classroom. And then you all had the unfortunate with the COVID, we talked, maybe not even a classroom, just the idea that you're in high school.
Yeah.
Now you're becoming a young adult, okay? So you went from also just watching on TV or maybe going to an event with your mom and seeing, you know, a local promotion or what have you. Now you're actually going from there to stepping into the ring. And see, that's a real long stretch and a real long step, okay? But the hardest step is the first step, and you've already taken that. So it doesn't matter that you're only 2 years removed. I'm not trying to give away your age. I'm just saying you're only a couple years removed from that, and now look where you're at. Now think about this: if you keep doing everything that you're doing, not missing, training, listening, learning, where are you going to be in 2 years? Where are you going to be in 5 years? How much better are you going to get? And again, I'm not sure what your fan base is. I'm not sure who's listening. I'm gonna give a couple of book plugs in a minute, but before I do it, I'm gonna tell you that's like I tell you, I give her bullet points. So Cindy, this is what I'm gonna tell her, and I want her to do this. Her promos right now should be the same, basically. My name is. I'm here. I have a goal. Okay, so you say your name, Destiny. You have a goal. I'm here at the training facility. I'm learning. I want to become a professional wrestler. The way I do it is I'm attending the Art of Grappling Professional Wrestling School, and I threw a date. You know, don't pay attention to this particular date because I want you stressing on it. But let's just say, and come December 31st this year, 2023 or what have you, Destiny, no more. Because on January 1st, the enigma, the neon enigma will emerge. Those are your bullet points. Boom, boom, boom. Who you are, what you're doing, what you plan on doing, or where you're going. That's your promo. You doctored up, take it down, up and down. You hit those 4, maybe 5 bullet points, you're learning to speak. Now, in the ring, you're learning to wrestle. You're doing the ropes. You're doing really good. You're hitting the ropes. Then you're doing headlock, switch, headlock, teach you a little bit of wrestling, and you're doing a bump. So you're learning, you're getting a lot of stuff. Now, without giggling, just throw that in there. See, I make her smile. She wasn't talking. I was trying to make her at least smile. She was so into me talking. She was like, I'm like, no, relax. So when you get those things, you get this down, and you're doing the calisthenics. Now, personally,